to do today. So welcome, welcome. Thank you for everyone for joining. Um, we have we're doing our monthly meeting. It is already September 16th. I didn't think we were going to make it much past March when all this first started, but I'm glad that we are here and adjusting well to this new reality. And actually, I think we're a little more efficient probably than we have ever been in getting things done. And thank you. It looks like we have quite a few people on the Zoom call. So a total of 20, well, someone just dropped off. It was 22, so 21 people total. So thank you for being in attendance. We are just to guys give you an overview. We are working on some things for our ring as well. Something that has been proposed for the ring, Dominique, so that you know. One of our ring members or former ring members, Daisha, who owns Toasted Up, the bartending company, mobile bartending company. We're proposing to do a possible virtual happy hour where she will lead a class on like a mixed drink class. So how to make a bourbon drink, and that will, of course, being done after hours, so no one will get in trouble during their day job. We won't do it during lunch, but we thought it would be a great way for everyone to kind of interact and have a good time and be at their home. And she normally will send out a list of the ingredients that are needed before that event. Andrea used her not, I think last week or the week before for an event that she did for friends. So we're gonna work on getting that done probably, and we're not gonna wait to do that until December. I think we're gonna go ahead and do that just to get people engaged and to have a little fun and keep it lighthearted amongst the membership. And with that, we're looking forward to even bringing in some more people, some invited. And one of the things that we're gonna ask is that those who attend to possibly just add a tip to her Cash App or something of that nature. She's been awesome. She's helped us out on a lot of things, and she's starting to pick up business. But like most MBEs who had her type of service industry suffered a little bit in the beginning of COVID. So we're glad to see that she's kind of rebounding, and anything that we can do to continue to support our MBEs, from my perspective, is definitely would be greatly appreciated from everyone. And I will, yep, go ahead, go right ahead. And I'll kick it over to you for introductions.
That is awesome. Go ahead, and when you have your event, raffle off a free ticket to the Re-Emerge event for those people attending. All right.
Sounds good. Nice. That'll work. That'll work. We'll make that happen. And then we did have our Re-Emerge call this morning. There are a lot of exciting things that are being planned. Clifton presented technology, although I was having technology problems myself this morning, so I was in and out of the call. But I think it's going to be a great event. The way Clifton has set up the virtual rooms, or I'm sorry, he's working with the MBE to set up the virtual rooms. Is that correct, Margolette?
Yes.
I mean, Debbie. Okay. Yep. Mm-hmm. So that is, and it looks great. It's probably one of the better ones I've seen thus far. So there will be matchmaking. There will be a pitch competition, and some other things, exciting things that we're working on for that as well. So I'm looking forward to what the committees can kind of put together and soon to make this happen. And we will be together at a virtual conference soon enough. So Dominique, I'll kick it over to you if you have anything else that you want to present to the collective.
So thank you so much, Jonathan, and thank you for continuing this charge with the virtual meetings. I see the growth and I see the opportunities that are being presented to our MBEs. And so I want to just kick it back to my team. We can go round robin so that they can share with you updates that they have. I'll start with you, Marjolette.
Okay, thank you, Dominique. I am pulling up my list. I do apologize. For some reason, I closed down the list. We did have some new MBEs for the Piedmont Triad region, so let me get that for you. Okay. All right, so I want you to join me in welcoming Maxim Cognition. They are in the Piedmont Triad region. We also have Kingman Consulting, Mid-South Medical, Griffith Transport. They're actually in the Triad. So, and then we have also in Piedmont, BNC Care System, SAM Analytic Solutions, and Wright Creative Agency. So that Piedmont Triad region is growing. So help me in welcoming them. Some of them may be on the call right now as we speak. And so welcome them. Dominique, do you want me to do the?
Yes. Yes. Go ahead and do the education.
Okay, I'm sorry, Jonathan, were you going to say something?
I was going to say, if anybody's here, just, let us know. If any of the new members are here, just let us know that you're here. We're glad for you to introduce yourself real quick.
And just so you know, we kicked off the University of Richmond Executive Management Program last week with 18 students. As far as the industries, they run the gamut. I mean, we have all different types of industries, which is very good. Also coming up in October, we're going to have the Sunoco leadership class. We are still taking applications for that. So if you're a new MBE or you're an existing MBE on the line who has never attended the Sunoco leadership, that is a one-year program. All of that is done online, and we are accepting applications. I will put the link in the chat for you, for those of you who'd like to apply, as well as my contact information. And these are $5,000 scholarship opportunities for the growth of your business. That's it.
Thank you for that.
Okay. Greg can go ahead.
Yep. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to hook on to what Jonathan said, and actually what Dominique was saying earlier about the Reemerge event, which is happening December 2nd and 3rd. It is going to be an awesome event. I am, not ashamed at all of stepping out on that limb. Having seen the platform, having seen the direction that we're taking on it, just wanted to reiterate the fact that this is going to be a wonderful virtual event that everyone should be in attendance for. As a part of that, we're going to have a construction matchmaking piece of that. And in that construction matchmaking, that is really obviously for those that are in that construction business or in this construction industry in any form or fashion, but also those who may have large construction projects taking place. So if you're a corporate partner who has a large construction project that you'd like to make sure you're connecting with MBEs, this would be a matchmaking that's specifically geared toward you. So I'll be reaching out, and Larry and I both will be reaching out, but don't wait for that. If you know that you're in that area or you have specific construction-oriented needs, please reach out to me, and we'll make sure that we get you listed on as a part of our construction opportunity with this virtual event. So another thing is we're going to have significant sponsorship opportunities for Reemerge. I will also be reaching out to you around that. You will, I don't want to steal anyone's thunder, but once to get with what Jonathan was just saying, once you see the platform, this is something you're going to want to be a part of. You're going to want to sponsor. You're going to want to have your brand represented within this opportunity. So please reach out to me. I'll reach out to you. We'll make sure this happens for you, but sponsorship opportunities are available, and we are looking forward to having you do that. By the way, that's corporate sponsors or MBEs. We're actually looking for both sponsorship opportunities, booth opportunities. It's going to be a matchmaking opportunity. There's going to be a number of things you're going to hear about. We just want to make sure you knew about that. And one other thing, just so you know, we do have, first, thank you for this team. I just wanted to say at our leadership meeting, I guess a week ago, we talked a lot about some other potential chambers and corporate sponsors. And I just wanted to let you know that we have new members that I would say potential members that we're working with. So thank you for the names, thank you for the opportunities, and we are reaching out to them daily, and we're getting traction there, so we appreciate that. The other piece of that is we want to also make sure that we do let you know we do have a new corporate member that we will be announcing soon. It's pending right now, so I don't want to, I don't want to jinx it. we're gonna go ahead and bring them in, but I will say this: they're going to be a Virginia-based corporation. However, there's a significant amount of opportunities with them with MBEs, and it's going to be a great opportunity. hopefully we'll be able to have them introduce themselves at the next ring meeting, but also be on the lookout for the newsletters and all our communications. We will introduce them even ahead of the next meeting as soon as we get all the I's dotted and the T's crossed. Okay.
All right.
Any questions or any thoughts I can answer, or anything I can answer for anybody?
Okay, Greg, thank you.
Okay.
But just to follow up, Greg, there are a couple of events I want to bring your attention to. NMSDC is having their national conference. I think that's in October. You need to go to the nmsdc.org website, and you can register for that national conference. Please save the date for our December 2nd and 3rd year-end conference, which is a compilation of Business Opportunity Conference, which is normally in August, and our MBE Summit, which is normally in December. We will have everything on December 2nd and 3rd. And as Greg said, it's going to be a very robust conference. I think there was one other thing. Oh, scholarships. In addition to the scholarships that Marjolette talked about for the Sunoco Leadership Program, we have been awarded a grant from Lowe's to help MBEs who might have difficulty with recertification or new MBEs. So that is forthcoming. If anybody has a need, please let us know, and we will have scholarships to cover your membership. Very excited about that. We are seeing an outpouring of support from our corporate partners more than ever before. So there's a lot of growth that we're seeing this year in terms of initiatives from our corporate partners. We just had our largest grant ever come about, and I can't announce it right now, but that's going to cover several scholarships for the University of Richmond for next year and the year after. So if you know of any MBE who can benefit from our services, or if you know of any corporation that can benefit from being a corporate partner, please bring them to this venue. This is a great avenue for them to become introduced to CVMSDC. This is the working arm of the council. All 6 of our rings are the working arms. And I just want to thank those of you who are on the call today. I'm seeing folks jump from ring meeting to ring meeting, which is a benefit of this virtual reality that we're in. So thank you. Back to you, Jonathan.
All right, thank you, CVMSDC leadership team. We really appreciate all that you guys have done for us and are continuing to do. Without further ado, I will kick it over to Troy. He came on perfect time, turned his camera on, so I see that you are with us. So we'll hand it over to you to introduce APC.
Fantastic. Well, before I introduce APC, I did want to bring up that I serve as the MBEIC chair, as well as James Mill in the Piedmont region. And for those new MBEs, what that means is you can bring up any concerns, suggestions, recommendations. We're kind of your advocate to the CVMSDC. So would love the opportunity to work with you, get to understand a little bit more about your business. Shoot one of us, either James or myself, an email. We'd love to talk to you about some of the benefits of CVMSDC from our perspective, and welcome aboard. With that, I'll go ahead and get started on as the host of the meeting, introduction of APC, APC's Alliance of Professionals and Consultants. I'm excited that last Friday we were recognized as 2020 Best Places to Work by the Triangle Business Journal for large companies. So great achievement that we had last week. We're a 27-year-old nationally recognized industry leader and certified diverse provider to Fortune 500 and mid-sized companies. We provide services in over 40 states in the U.S. as well as abroad. What we do, we help organizations solve complex business problems with workforce and business project solutions. To do this, we provide professionals staffing in IT, data analytics, digital marketing, and engineering. Our strategic business solutions, we're focused on cloud, data analytics, enterprise, and security. I'm excited today to have Jason Botts here with us. Jason is a business executive with a history of building and leading high-performance teams. He serves as our head of technology at APC. He sits on advisory boards with Athena of the Triangle Technology Executive Council, and the North Carolina Executive Roundtable. In 2017, he was appointed by Governor Pat McCrory and reappointed last year by Roy Cooper. Jason serves as a senior member of the North Carolina Board of Science, Technology, and Innovation, part of North Carolina's Department of Commerce. He's also a Wake County master gardener since 2010. So if you have any gardening questions outside of IT, he can help you with that as well. So with all of those accolades and experience, he's going to be discussing a topic that should be important to all of us, which is dealing with the rise of cyber threat during COVID-19. Jason's going to cover tips for staying safe personally, as well as the unique threats faced by businesses during COVID-19 pandemic. With that, Jason, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you, Troy. Just a couple of quick things. One, I do hope I get an invite back for the bourbon hour that I heard about at the beginning. As a bourbon fan, that sounded pretty interesting. And as Troy mentioned, if tech is not your thing, we can certainly talk tomatoes afterwards. That may be a little closer for some of you. I don't have any miracle answers for that, but they're certainly fun to try. All right, so I'm going to try and share my screen. I believe I've got presenter right, so I'm going to do this full screen. You let me know when you can see that.
We can see it.
Fabulous. All right. Is everybody good? Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through just a couple of slides here. While I'm in presenter mode, I can't see raised hands or chat. I think I'll hear something. I'm going to keep an eye down in the corner. Right now, I happen to see Troy in the pane down there, so Troy can wave at me or whoever's there if I need to pause at something. But just speak up for sure. But I've got a couple of notes here on my other screen, so I'll be looking away to give you some information. This has really been a very challenging year from a cyber perspective. And, I'm going to give you a couple of bits of information to explain that. In fact, 2020 is shaping up to be probably a record year from a cyber threat perspective. On top of, as you can see here in this word cloud that Interpol pulled together, COVID-19 has certainly been a driving factor in the increase of threats. But as we're all aware, it's not the only issue that we're dealing with in 2020. There's a lot of social tension and passion in most every major city in the United States right now for several months. This happens to be a census year, an event that only happens every 10 years. And that factors in because there's lots of unknowns and questions and government inquiries that are coming out to the community. The environment, we have 22 named storms right now, right? I think we're tracking 5 across the Atlantic. Sally looks like it's going to move through North Carolina on Thursday. We're running out of hurricane names this year. I think we're about to go into the Greek alphabet. California, 8,000 fires this year. It's burned 3.4 million acres. 3% of the landmass in California has burned. Now, lest we forget, at the beginning of the year, Australia actually had 47 million acres burned in forest fires at the beginning of the year. So this is a global issue. COVID is all over the world, and on top of it all, it's an election year, right? So this is really a perfect storm for threats and impact, and us all being bombarded with messages and whatnot. And with all of this, you wonder why the term doom scrolling is now a thing, right? Because there's just so much going on. So we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about how this world we're living is impacting us from a cyber threat perspective. Well, most of the events that I just described to you are causing an upsurge in what are typically email-based threats. And we're going to talk a little bit about social engineering, on how to protect yourself, as well as sort of systems and network tips and tricks on things that we're being with these exposures, how to protect ourselves. But a few numbers around this cyberspace. So Interpol has reported that in the first part of this year, there were 2,000 malicious domain names that were registered and over 40,000 high-risk domain names specifically around the term COVID, right? So that's 2,000 new web addresses and up to 40,000 that were deemed high risk, specifically around COVID. So as people are doing searches and getting email messages, all of this to try to look like a legitimate site. The FBI also reported it's received nearly 500,000 complaints, almost 3.5 billion in losses. And most of this, almost half, were actually related to business email compromise, or BEC, which is a term that the industry uses to talk about this vector of emails coming in to businesses. So that's why we're going to talk about that first. A couple of other quick nuggets here. In January, Trend Micro, one of the big virus companies, had identified over 1 million spam messages associated with COVID. But by the end of June, get this number, 8.8 billion threats had been identified just by one provider, that's Trend Micro, of 28 billion threats in the first 6 months of 2020. Now, of those 28 billion, nearly 93% were email-based. So clearly email is a factor. And I'm happy to share any of the links to these statistics for anybody that's interested. So we're going to talk a little bit first about email and some tips here. So many of you probably see in your emails, if you don't already, this is a conversation we certainly should have, these new warnings over the last probably couple of years, identifying things, messages as being external senders, or pointing out the fact that they're attachments or links or other alerts. What we're finding in technology, and the help desk sees this so often, is people are becoming immune to that, right? They see that banner, just about everything is external. They start to look past it. This is not the time to ignore those messages. I think I've got an example here. Yeah. So, this email originated from an external source. You see different flavors of this. This message has essentially been flagged because it's coming from outside our company. If it had an attachment or links, this is your first indication to ask some questions. Now, oftentimes what happens here, and this is I've used this particular image on purpose because it included a graphic. And that graphic you can see here is pointed out at the top of my email as not having been loaded. So the point here is that email senders are sending these messages and you're actually letting them know you're receiving it just by opening the message. Now, you're not necessarily downloading something nasty. If you clicked on the attachment, clicked the link, that's a whole different thing. Hopefully we've moved past some of that. But even by opening the message, if you've not configured your mail client to disable this automatic loading, that image that you see right there, this cannon, this would have loaded. Now, if I see this person is a legitimate sender, I know who it is, I recognize this company, I'm expecting this, I might click this button to load those images. It's at that point my mail client's going to go out, retrieve this message, and show me the full message. Now, there are different settings for different devices and different mail clients. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to send this link out to the chat at the end so that I can keep your attention. I'll do that at the end. But this article actually speaks to how to disable the auto loading of images in each of the very popular mail clients, as well as on the various devices. So the example I just showed you happened to be from an iPhone. I've disabled that on my iPhone. If you have an Android, you can do that here as well. That's a very important step to take to prevent senders from knowing that you're getting their messages. Because once they know you've opened it, you become a target and you're only going to see an increase in that volume. The other thing we see are these fraudulent messages. This is where you use that banner that says it's from outside the company. This was a snippet that we had in a prior presentation. Looks like it's sent from Troy. That's a recognizable name, but that's not really Troy's email address. That's Larry Benita 36 at AOL.com. Now, something like this comes in quite regularly. You can report these to your IT team if you have one. But quite frankly, the best thing to do is just delete it. I mean, this is pretty apparent. This is not Troy sending me an email. And it's going to have that banner, just as I described. This is originated from an external source. Why would Troy send me an email from his AOL account? Right. It just doesn't pass the, as we like to say, it doesn't pass the sniff test. There are things that you can do as a company. Now, this says it came from AOL. It probably didn't. It came from some address on the internet, probably another country, that looks like it's AOL. There are things you can do and set so that the emails coming as your company are shown as legitimate messages. It's a far more technical conversation. I'm not going to go into it now, but there are things you can do to prevent your domain from being used fraudulently to send messages. APC, we're taking steps to do that so that when you receive an email from @apcinc.com, that that's an authentic message coming from someone on our network, and you can take these steps. I'm happy to take questions like that offline. Email is not the only vector. Now, you've probably received these phone calls on your cell phone. You may have received them at the office. It happens to be that Apple is calling from their technical support department and have identified threats with your iCloud account. You may not even have an iCloud account. That's because that call is a fraudulent call. There are calls right now, unbelievable volumes from Microsoft, from Apple, purporting to be these companies calling as a support on the behalf of support. Now, as we have more people working from home, they're unsure. Are these calls legitimate? Has something happened? The best step you can take here is first verify in a call like that they're with the company's help desk. If you don't have a help desk, Apple and Microsoft are not going to call you about a security issue. But there again, someone may call suggesting that they're with your company's help desk. Verify that. Make sure there's a published method by which your help desk will actually call. There's probably a couple of names you're familiar with. If you're not familiar, maybe send a chat message to this person. Request a call back. Call them back on a number that you can have. So often these phone calls and even text messages now are coming to individuals, our remote workforce, looking to be a support call. This is almost like that guy that shows up at the front desk and says, "Hey, I'm here to service your elevator. I'm here to service your air conditioner," and they're not legitimate. It's the same thing now. Now it's coming through phone calls and SMS. So be aware. The other thing to be aware, government calls, all of these crises, the census. There's so many sources now of fraudulent calls, and once they get that information, they're gonna run with it. Nobody's gonna ask for payment through gift cards. Nobody wants you to go to Walmart and get some gift cards to pay a bill. All of that is just fraud, but yet people fall for it all the time. The other thing that's worth mentioning here is in a phone call like this, in a conversation, no one should really be asking you for a password. Yes, there are some situations where the help desk might need to work with you to ask you your password, to verify some credential, to test a problem with you. That should be obvious to you. If it doesn't seem right, ask questions. But even if if you're asked for a credential, consider changing that after the call. There's no reason that the support desk should need to use that afterwards. So it's worth mentioning now because the environment has changed so much. Prior to COVID, when conferences were occurring quite regularly, there's a lot of travel. We were in the office. We were having guests come into the office. There was a new threat that emerged. In fact, I saw a demonstration of this at a security conference here in Raleigh recently, where people are leaving shiny new toys or devices on a coffee table in the lobby, or they're handing out thumb drives at an event. And the very first thing someone does, they get back to their hotel room or they get their laptop. Oh, this has got the PowerPoint from the trade show or this. They plug it into their laptop. I've seen a demonstration of malware being installed on a thumb drive that instantly installs malware tools that then upload all of the contents from that laptop, unencrypted because you've already plugged in a device, uploads that information to the cloud. Now, I think some of us are old enough to remember we learned don't put those floppy disks you get into your computer. This is today's floppy disk. Now, the threat of this has changed. You may have heard news reports of late of things called brushing, where you get this package in the mail. You didn't order it. You're not sure what, there were some seeds from China showing up, just some weird things. And people are using this to really try to inflate their numbers on services like Amazon. But it's not beyond hackers to send a device like this, or even as a promotional item, to senior executives in an organization. And once they put that and your first temptation is to use it and put it into a device. The first thing is just don't, unless you know the sender, unless you trust it. Would not recommend putting these types of devices into your company equipment. So we talked about changes that have happened this year. For many of you, you're working remote. Your workforce is now remote, and the threat has certainly changed because of that new landscape. In 2018, we saw a significant uptick in ransomware. This is software that's installed on a computer, typically a company machine, and encrypts it, and there's some ransom that must be paid to unlock that data. Well, the threat in 2019 subsided. In 2020 has actually been much, much less than what we saw in the peak. But now that there are personal devices, people are accessing company networks from their personal devices, or those company devices are now on private networks. That exposure has increased. So the threat of ransomware is still there. And when you think about it, if a employee's device is ransomed and locked, if that was their tool to access the company network, even though the company resources may be protected, if that employee is no longer productive, you've got downtime. That impacts you as a company. So advising staff and taking precautions, and even taking precautions for yourself. If you're a solopreneur, you're under constant threat as well. You have to be cautious. You are your own help desk. So protecting your system through backups, backing it up through tools like OneDrive, using what's called folder protection that copies your desktop, your documents and your photos to the cloud. Those documents are encrypted. iCloud is the same way if you're using an Apple device. Those documents are encrypted in cloud. It's actually safer there than it probably is on your home network from attack. So use those backups. And if something were to happen, you need to recover those files. They're going to be safely restored from the cloud. The use of VPNs, virtual private network tools, has certainly increased with the remote workforce. These can create open connections to the network at your office. Devices have been added because people need new printers. They need a scanner at home. They've added new wireless access points. I was on a call in the last hour. Somebody's talking about a wireless repeater that they just added to their home network because their Wi-Fi was weak. All of these new devices are potential threats. And if you're connecting through a VPN from home, that's actually that could be a pathway for that information to get into your network. So not all VPNs are made the same. It is always worth a look to see how you're connected to your network. Things like Citrix and using the cloud. If you can use an app and talk to the cloud, never have to come into the network, that's even better. There are new unsupervised machines, right? We used to think about, lock your computer when you step away from your desk. Well, now you're at home. You're not at your desk. Those habits change. But you have other individuals in your house. You may have the kids at home. They may plop down at the computer, log in and start surfing the internet and downloading stuff on that company computer. And they don't know that's not the machine they should use. have that conversation and still take care to lock computers when they're at home. The other piece of advice here is, especially on remote systems, is take the time to keep your software current. Apple is releasing, I think within the next hour, a new update for their iPads, iOS. I think even the Mac OS is being updated today. Those updates will start rolling out. They improve security, reliability. Windows releases security updates easily every week. Zoom was a great example, right? We probably heard every week Zoom had a patch and some security update. It's better off to take those updates than not these days. There used to be a time where IT would say, hey, look, don't install the update. We need to test it, make sure it's all compatible. With so much software and communication happening, it's best for you to take those updates, especially on personal machines. So stay current. Also, if your device has biometric security, we certainly recommend enabling that. It's a second factor of authentication. We'll talk about multi-factor authentication, or MFA, here in a second. Troy, I still see you down in the bottom corner. How are we doing on time? Thumbs up. How are we doing?
Yeah, I think we're still good. Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to talk briefly about a few tools, and with all of the discussion of threats and access, the world of credentials has changed, and I think there was a study that talked about the most common password being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hopefully that's nobody's password anymore, but there may be the ASDF 1, 2, 3, 4 on the keyboard that you think is secure. Those passwords, as you might imagine, are already known on the dark web to most hackers and those trying to compromise systems. Passwords alone are so yesterday, as you might say. They're no longer enough security. In fact, so often passwords are commonly used and shared that the FBI issued a report just this past week to most of the commercial banks of a new threat that's emerging called credential cramming. And this is where hackers have actually taken credentials and are using those credentials that might have been found from Twitter or Instagram or whatever, and trying to hack into a bank using the same password. Now, hackers go after Twitter accounts and Instagram, and they're not really after posting pictures, unless you're Taylor Swift or Tim Cook or Elon Musk, right? They're not after your Twitter account. They're not going to post, they might, but that's not really what they're after. They're after your credential, because there's a fair chance that the same password that you use on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or wherever it might be the same password you use on Home Depot or Amazon, or worse, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, or Chase. So this concept of called credential cramming, where they try to repurpose that password, they have figured out that you have an account on these other sites, they're going to try to use it and get in and compromise your account. So with all of these passwords, starting to float around and having to create unique passwords, the need for password lockers have emerged. Now, your browser, if you use Chrome, Edge, or Safari, or just about any browser today, has a password manager. That's better than writing it down in your notepad, or worse, you might still have sticky notes. Those are certainly not as desirable as having a password manager into your browser, but those are not as secure. There are security risks. As you might imagine, that's the first place someone's going to look if they've compromised your system. They're going to go after the keys to the castle. So be mindful of using those password managers. It is a step forward. It's better than a spreadsheet. It's better than a notepad document. But a password locker actually will allow you to improve your credential management. Things like LastPass and MSecure, 1Password, these are just a few. This is not meant to be a commercial for password lockers. This is an introduction. If you have questions about any of them, I'm happy to take them. But that really is a viable method. Password lockers give you the ability to look at a breakdown of your passwords. This happened to be just a screenshot of one of the ones that I use. You can see that you can store sensitive information, in a password locker goes beyond just logins. I've got credit card information, secure notes that might include private information that I need to protect. All of this is encrypted and synchronized across devices. It also helps me enforce a level of cleanliness in passwords. So it helps me manage the different systems that I'm accessing, but also, for example, looks at weak passwords, helps me identify where they're duplicates, or maybe they're passwords that haven't changed in a very, very long time. So when I first installed the tool, it took the snapshot, and yeah, it happens to the best of us. Some of these were not great. The duplicates, you can see there were definitely a few. Fortunately, out of I think it was 500 plus, almost 600. They're not many, but there's some in there that I probably should take a look at and have. So these types of password lockers provides this analysis and helps you improve it. And as you create uniqueness, you can revert back to your password locker for the information.
Jason, can I ask a question?
You bet.
So is this an app or is this a software that you use on your computer?
Yeah, great question. So password lockers are typically a commercial app, meaning you gotta pay a nickel or two for them because security doesn't come cheap. I happen to use two different ones. One's called LastPass, which is a great tool for sharing passwords if you do that within your family, or if you need to share credentials with other coworkers. So let's say, for example, there are two individuals who access a different system and you need to share that password, you can keep this in a locker. But yes, they're commercial software. They're in the App Store for Google and Apple, and they're also plugins for your web browser, so you can use those.
Jason, what's the second one you use?
Yeah, the second one is called MSecure. It's a little under the radar. I did some analysis of the various solutions, and MSecure was actually rated one of the highest in the ethical hacking world for having a rather robust security. It does not have all the bells and whistles like 1Password. LastPass certainly has several bells and whistles, and there are others. But there have been some issues, as you might imagine. To my knowledge, LastPass and certainly not MSecure, they've never had a security breach of those credentials. I'm happy to share those links as well in the chat. So the other part of
one quick question: what does the MFA after password locker stand for?
Yeah, you bet. So multi-factor authentication is my next topic, and I want to speak about that just briefly. So multi-factor authentication is that second step beyond just using a password. It is a second factor of authentication. So with your iPhone or your Android device, you may have set up biometric authentication. So you have a PIN on your device, but you also have a thumb reader or a facial scanner, that type of thing. The banks were one of the first to roll this out, where you log in, and if you come in from a device that's not trusted, they ask you for a second factor. They'll send you a text message, right? If you sit down a new laptop, you'll get hey, we don't recognize this device. We're going to send you a text message to the phone number that you set up, so that we just know that you are who you say you are. And then it'll usually prompt you, hey, do you trust this device? Will you be logging in more often from this device? If you say yes, it won't challenge you again. Multi-factor actually is while it can feel somewhat annoying, actually is a true savior when it comes to passwords. Because if your password is compromised, there are thousands of compromised passwords, hundreds of thousands of compromised passwords every month that happen. If your password is used against something like Amazon and you've established multi-factor authentication, they can't use it because they have to then provide that second factor of the text message that came to just your cell phone to log in. It actually protects you. Now, the key here is that your password, if it's unique, can't be used because that multi-factor helps protect you. Now, if you've used the same password in, let's say, for example, Twitter, which offers multi-factor, but if you didn't set it up, if they use that same credential, they can get in, and you'll never know until they tweet or whatever, if they were to do that, if you're Elon Musk. But if you can set up multi-factor authentication on any of your services, highly recommend that. Definitely, with your banks, they typically require it now, but even services like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of those services have that option available to you. Highly recommend it. If you can use a tool, there are authenticator tools on the market beyond just your cell phone. Using your cell phone to receive a text message is great. But if they've compromised your cell phone, if they've stolen that, getting a text message to your phone isn't necessarily ideal because that's your other key to the castle. There are tools out there called Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator. There's a great tool called Authy. It's a part of the, actually it's an independent company. LastPass offers an authenticator. I'll send these out if we need to. But look into these authenticator tools to add an additional layer to your password security. So just summarize just quickly here with some key takeaways. Email, certainly your most biggest threat, personally and to your organization. Steps to identify external senders. The last line of defense on email is really you. You can have all of the malware protection and virus scanning and filtering and this, that, and the other, but we still see threats. And the biggest defense is you. If it looks suspicious, your gut tells you it very well may be. And there's only so much that IT can do. You can report it, but the best thing to do is just delete it. Multiple threat vectors, email's not the only one. Phone calls, text messages, those USB drives you see in the parking lot, just leave them there. Software, keep it up to date. Zoom, again, I go back to that example. They were updating once a week. When you take when you install a new piece of software, keep it current. There's some settings now on your mobile device that says just keep those apps current. Highly recommend that, especially with the pace of change. Leverage the value of password lockers. I'll send a couple of suggestions out. And the multi-factor, use it wherever you have that option. Awesome. I appreciate everybody's time, and I'm happy to take some questions in the time that we have left. I'll actually end this, paste a couple of links to chat.
I had a question when you have a moment, please.
You bet. Go ahead.
So great job, very informative, very relevant to where we are today. As part of this elite leadership team and this minority group, we have to make sure that we've worked so hard to protect our intellectual property. And people have put their dreams and goals into everything they have for these businesses. So if we don't protect it now, then everything we did was for waste. So we're obviously doing a good job with that. So thank you. One thing I tell my employees, we grew from 3 to 50. In the first part, the employees would give out their email for their Netflix account, for their Amazon account, their Domino's Pizza account. So I told them to stop giving it out to non-work related items, and it cut down some of the spam we got. Was that just luck, or was that actually a strategy? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. I used the phrase early on when we started talking about social distancing, that social distancing from social media is actually a good idea too, and not sharing credentials and being very cautious with what's communicated. Keeping that close to you. The less you share, the better. We're an interconnected world, so it's hard. But yeah, I think the idea that began to taper off was probably could be correlated.
To build on that same question, Jason, so we have our email addresses on our website, and we've gotten quite a few spam-related emails asking us to buy gift cards from me to my team. Should we remove our email addresses from the website?
That's a tough question. If your personal email addresses, I would recommend that you remove anything that comes directly to you. Shared mailboxes like info@ or sales@, those types of things, you're going to have to leave those. The training for those individuals to understand, what to look through and filter becomes even more important. And ideally, they're checking that through like a web browser The messages are not actually coming into a mail client. They're not actually opening it on their phone or or even worse, their computer. Most of the modern mail filtering tools are going to keep most of that malware out. The challenge is, I think I mentioned the thousands of domains that were registered at the first part of the year that referenced COVID. All of the threat companies, they didn't know that until they existed and people reported and they started to detect this. So there's that period of time when you're going to get an email message that has a link there that nobody knows it's malware. They don't know it yet. So you've got to train them not to click and not necessarily to trust. I have seen just in the last week, reminders that calendar invites. People send calendar invites and they'll have links. And now we're finding more of those links are actually malware links. They look like legitimate email or calendar invitations, but the links associated with them take you to sites that can cause damage.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I did post the link on how to block those pixel trackers. I find that very few people have actually enabled that, especially on your mobile device. If you open an email message today and you see a graphic, you've probably not enabled that security. It's a little extra layer and it can be an annoyance not to see all those cute pictures every time. But I'll tell you, anytime you receive a message, all you have to do is open it. And if you load a picture, that sender could potentially know that that's a legitimate email address and that you're actually opening those messages. And you could become what's called a spearfish target, and that they're targeting specifically you because they know you're active on email and how you're using it. Other questions? Well, hope this has been helpful for everybody. And if you have anything after the fact, you save them for the bourbon hour, and I'll certainly take them then too.
No, Jason, thank you. This was very informative. I almost don't want to get on my computer or my cell phone. So
just do it carefully.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're the last line of defense.
I'm definitely one of those ones that need the MFA, so I'm going to be looking into doing that myself. So we really appreciate that information. We are almost at the top of the hour. Troy, did you have anything else that you wanted to present to the team?
No, I just appreciate the opportunity today to provide some insight, some education, part of the benefits of CVMSDC for its members. And Jason, thanks for parting with some of your knowledge. We hopefully it makes us smarter as we surf the web and open those emails or not open those emails.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you, Troy. Thank you once again for offering this up as a service from APC. This was, like I said, reiterate what I said. This has been great. I appreciate it. Was there any other announcements that anyone had from the members?
Sure. This is my first ring meeting. I just wanted to thank everybody for their leadership and their time. It's so good to be around so many like-minded individuals. And we're a private aviation company here in Greensboro, downtown Greensboro, and we are looking forward to partnering with you all.
Welcome. Is it Akir?
Yeah, it's a Dr. Khan or Akir. What do you prefer?
Okay.
My friends call me Shaka Khan.
What's the name of your company? What's your company?
Sure. The name is Jet It. It's a private aviation company. I work for a founder. His name is Lieutenant Colonel Glenn Gonzalez. Glenn used to work for Honda Aircraft, and he got a question every day about, I can't afford the entire plane. Can I afford part of it? And so he started his own business where he sells fractional ownerships of this new Honda jet. And so we are flying at $1,600 an hour. It's the lowest price in America, and we are the largest Honda jet provider in America. And so we are looking to grow. We're brand new to the MBEs, and it just feels so good to be around so many strong leaders. So thank you, Jonathan, for your leadership.
Thank you, Dr. Khan. Tim, I'm going to tap you so we can get on Jet It, and maybe you and I can just share a seat because
No, we got the seats. You guys are good. Plenty of room.
No, that sounds like an awesome opportunity. So thank you for joining us. We look forward to having you around. Maybe we could,
Dominique, we've given about $500,000 in philanthropy to a lot of children's causes. And so our owner used to play point guard at the Air Force. So we're really big about philanthropy and just partnering and, whatever we can do to help the MBE family, we're just looking forward to doing it.
Well, we might take you up on that, Akir.
Okay.
Look, I was just about to go there.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right. Thank you. All right. Does anybody else have anything?
Jonathan, I was remiss about the weekly emails at 7:30 on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. The council sends out a newsletter. If you're not getting those newsletters, please check your spam mail at 7:30 Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and move it over to your inbox because there's a lot of great information there, a lot of grants, a lot of RFP information. And if you have information that needs to be shared in the newsletter, Troy, I just sent you an email. I want to announce your award as a corporation of the year or a company to work for. We want to get that news in our newsletter and share it with all of your peers. And so please send Debbie Pettigrew your information and we will get that spread out to the network. Thank you. Thank you, Jonathan, for your leadership, your entire Ring team. Thank you, Troy, for your speaker this morning. It's been a great Ring meeting. Thank you.
And one follow-up thing, so Trina just posted in the chat that Metrolina Ring will be having their meeting on tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. So if or an older MBE from the Piedmont Triad Ring, try to join Metrolina. Get some contacts there as well, because we are all one big family in the CVM SDC world. So get out there, network, put your business out there so we know. I'm actually, so Trina, if you put the link in or shoot us the email for it, I'm going to try to join that myself in the morning because I have not joined one of the Metrolina meetings, and I'm always interested to see how others run their meetings, especially in this virtual world.
Okay,
So,
I'll do that.
Jim Seals from Mechanics and Farmers Bank is their keynote, is their speaker there tomorrow.
That's
okay, awesome.
Great.
Yeah, and for anyone, you can just go to the calendar, cvmsdc.org, go to events, and then go to the calendar. And every event we have, you can register for the Ring meetings there.
Okay, awesome. Just say, so I think Andrea did join. I wanted to make sure that we covered everything. Did we leave anything out today?
I don't think so. So sorry I joined late, but the presentation was great and it's great to be here now, but I think we got it all.
Awesome.
Dominique, I got a question about the grant application. And I just want to say for anybody on the call, if you need assistance with your certification fee, you'd like to take advantage of the grant, all you have to do is have an application and draft in my system, and you will automatically get the information.
Okay. And also, if you guys look in the chat, Margolette did, I don't want to miss this either. She did post in here for the Sunoco leadership application. So look at that link for any of the MBEs who are looking to attend to go out there and complete that information. So that is in the chat box for you right now. So just scroll back up a little ways and you'll find it.
And just one additional note from me, and this might have already been mentioned earlier, but Progressive Business Solutions will be hosting our next Piedmont Ring meeting in October. And we'll get that information over to CVM SDC sooner rather than later, so you guys can get that on your calendars.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll have a virtual lunch also.
Okay. Are you sending it to Grubhub to everyone's house?
Right.
Thanks, Tim.
All right, guys. Well, we really appreciate your time today. We finished a little bit early. I know we had to 1:30, but we always give that little cushion in there in case we do run over. So once again, we really appreciate it and enjoy the rest of your day. We look forward to talking to you soon. And hey, and for anybody new, reach out not only to Troy and to James, but anybody in the ring. We're always willing to help and try to get to know you guys as best we can and learn about what you do. So welcome again to those new members.
Thank you, John.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Please drop me
Take
an
care,
email.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Dominique.
See ya. Bye-bye.